Radhe Radhe, a very good afternoon. The discussion for the today's topic is pilgrimage tradition of Braj Bhumi. According to Mahabharata, pilgrimage places are auspicious for Hindus because of the extraordinary power they exhibit in form of earth, water, and as they were once walked by sages. As the devotees experience the bhav, emotions, they connect with the sacred scape. Today, we are talking about one such sacred space which is known as Braj Bhumi. As we all know, Braj Bhumi is associated with Lord Krishna. Braj, popularly known in Sanskrit as Vraja, the sacred land of Krishna, in the neighborhood of present-day Mathura, is a popular pilgrimage center. The spiritual quest for the earthly experience of their beloved deity Krishna brought various sampradayas and devotees to the Braj Bhumi, the sacred land of Krishna. This quest took the form of a pilgrimage during the 16th century and contributed immensely to the very idea of Braj. These propagators mapped the scriptural Braj region onto the physical landscape of area surrounding Mathura. This process of rediscovering Braj region and the settlement of various sects or the sampradayas was followed by a thronging of region by merchant followers and subsequently by the Rajput rulers of the adjoining kingdoms of Rajasthan and Bundelkhand. This patronage led to the temple building activities, the expansion of various settlements and flourishing of the sects inhabiting Braj region. As we are discussing a region called Braj, we first need to understand the various interpretations of what Braj region is. So, according to most of the scholars, Braj does not define a politically, it cannot be defined only in a single way, and it does not refer to an area which is clearly defined boundaries, which has a clearly defined boundaries, and it has never been the official name of an administrative division. So, when we look at the Vraja of Puranas, it is very different from what today we see Braj as, and today when devotees visit Braj, we need to understand that they are looking for an experience of their beloved deity Krishna, right? But somewhere we need to understand what Vraj is. So when we look at the ancient texts, we see Vraj was a cowherd settlement. It was mobile in nature. It was not a specific geographical locale or a settlement. So it was mobile, it was moving from one place to another, and Vraja has been completely distinguished from what Mathura is. Mathura is a nagara. It is a urban settlement. But when we look at Vraja is different from Mathura, and when we look at the evolution of the idea of Vraja in these old texts, we understand that there is a process where Vraja is also evolving. So in Rig Veda you see the idea of Vraja is largely gayon ka khidak hai wo, right? But when we come down to Harivamsha Puran, it is the idea of Vraja is evolving. It is evolving into something else. When we are coming to Bhagavad Puran, it is taking another shape. So today I am first going to discuss about the region because when we are talking about the pilgrimage traditions of Braj Bhumi, we need to understand what Braj Bhumi is or was. So when we look at Vraja, a very illustrious scholar of Braj Bhumi known as Prabhudayal Mittal, in his work Sanskritic Braj ka Sanskritic Itihas, he has defined Braj into various forms. So for instance, he defines Rajnitik Braj. Rajnitik means political Braj. So when we talk about political Braj, in the ancient times we know Surasana Janapada was there, and it was Surasana Mahajanapada that Braj, Mathura was the political capital of that region, and the area around that region we can call it as Vraj. But at that point of time it was not defined as a geographical locale. Mathura was the center, and even in the ancient texts where Mathura has been seen as one of the Saptapuris, but people used to go to the pilgrimage to Mathura Kshetra, and its development started in the ancient times only, as different scholars have different views about it. But still we say that Vraja, the area around Mathura, the term to be used, Braj, it came to be used during medieval period only and not in the ancient period. So you see, Rajnetik political Braj in the ancient time was largely Surasena Kshetra, then and Mathura Kshetra, which has a religious connotation. Then we come to Dharmik Braj, religious Braj, which was defined in the 16th century by the Sampradayas, which I am going to discuss. And when we talk about Bhashai Braj, Bhashai is the language. So wherever Braj Bhasha has travelled as a language, that area is also considered as linguistic Braj, that is Bhashai Braj. So when we talk about language, then even Agra is part of Braj, but religiously it is not a part of Braj. So there are overlapping boundaries of what we understand as Braj and how we distinguish it from the ancient, how it has been defined in the ancient scriptures as Vraja. When we discuss about Vraja, many Puranas describe the imagery that was associated with Vraja as a sacred space, which is considered as a microcosm of the universe and has cosmic significance. It was done to include the area of Vraja and the pilgrimage in the religious Kshetra, circuit Kshetra areas, Kshetra, the navigation of which gives special merit based on some form or systems of cosmic mandala, as in the case of Varanasi, Mathura and Ayodhya. Even though Braj Yatra is practiced, which is practiced today, is far from circular, still the idea of circularity is evoked again and again, perhaps to suit the scheme of circular circumambulation. So in Puranas like Bhagavad Puranam, contextual references to the notion of space emerges. So we see Vraj Bhu as being used in Bhagavad Purana, and even though you see Vraja was a cowherd settlement, the notion of land emerges in Bhagavad Purana. Puranic Vraja being a pastoral settlement which was mobile in nature, the devotees coming on, in the ancient times you see there was no the kind of pilgrimage tradition we see today was not there in the ancient times. It developed in the medieval times, and when all these sampradayas, so we talk about Gaudiyas, we talk about Pushtimargis, we talk about Radha Vallabhis, we talk about Nimbarks. So all these sampradayas, they are the ones who developed these pilgrimage itineraries in the medieval period when they came from different parts of the subcontinent looking for that, seeking that solace, that tranquility, that experience of their Krishna in Braj region, and they came looking for the Braj which was defined in Puranas, and when they reached Braj, they tried to experience that, because pilgrimage is all about spiritual experience of the deity and the space. So you see this in the 16th century, when the Sampradayas reached Braj, they started relocating and started finding these spaces, and so a pilgrimage itinerary was developed in the 16th century, and foremost name which comes in this regard is Narayan Bhatt. Narayan Bhatt, who was a Gaudiya leader and a devotee, he wrote a very important text which was known as Vraj Bhakti Vilasam. Vraj Bhakti Vilasam, in Vraj Bhakti Vilasam, Narayan Bhatt has defined this itinerary, this pilgrimage of this Ban Yatra, and also how Braj is the body of Krishna. So as scholars like Marciala, they talk about hierophanies, where the space itself becomes the embodiment of the God. Likewise, you see every tree, creeper, places, they become a part, embodiment of Krishna, of deity, and this is what Narayan Bhatt is also describing in the 16th century text known as Vraj Bhakti Vilasam. So he charted out the itinerary based on Puranas and Mahatmyas. The sacred geography of Braj was conceived of as a mandala, that is a circle. This circumambulation of the sacred geography, comprising of the 12 forests, Baravan, was thus schematized in the form of a circular journey. This journey through the ghats, lakes, temples was timed particularly during the rainy season in the month of Bhado, August, September, and continues till date. The pilgrimage area was conceived as a lotus covering 84 kos. The area of these vanas is considered to be a mandal, as I discussed. Thus, gradually we see Braj came to incorporate places which were not defined in the Puranas, Puranic literature. Another important concept that was evoked in the sectarian sources, by sectarian sources I mean the sources which were the kind of works, different genres of work which was composed during the medieval period by these sects, by Gaudiyas, Pushtimargis, by Radha Baldevis, by Nimbaks, by Haridasis. So all these texts, they talk about different conceptions of Braj, and some of them talk about Yogapitha. The Yogapitha was considered a sacred space of utmost reverence, as it was considered the meeting place of Krishna and Radha. So we see, for instance, the temple of Gobind Devji in Vrindavan, which is on Gomatila. It is also known, it is said that it is located on a Yogapitha. And that is why Gobind Devji is the tutelary deity, and he is the main primary deity of the Vrindavana. According to Puranas, the size of Vraja, as it was, we see, it was defined in the form of yojanas. Later we see, so in the Puranic Vraja, we see that there is a sense of mobility, it is mobile. And the imagery of different various imageries are employed to explain Ardha Chakra, Mandala, so all these imageries are there. But when we come to medieval period, we see a different kind of, a totally different kind of imagery emerging in the medieval texts. So the idea of Braj being the body of Krishna was another such idea. And medieval Mahatmyas extolling Mathura or Vrindavan expanded into a size of 20 yojanas. So we see, or even 40 yojanas. So we see that the size of Braj from what Vraj was in the Puranic setup was expanding. Thus, from being a small settlement of cowherders and limited in size, Vraja of earlier Puranic accounts came to span an area of around 254 kilometers in the sectarian accounts, and the physical mapping around the city of Mathura. The idea that Braj is embodiment of Krishna is also found in many other texts, and also later additions to the Puranas. So we see some Puranas, they talk like this. They describe Vikshe Vikshe Venudhari Patre Patre Chaturbhuj. Every tree is an embodiment of the fruit bearer Krishna, and each leaf represents his Chaturbhuj form. Moving to another section, when we discuss about the beginning of the pilgrimage tradition with relation to Braj Bhumi, we see that in the ancient period and through the legends, and we see that it is stated that Vrajanabh, the legendary great grandson of Krishna, is said to have established many Swarupas and their temples across Braj. He is said to have conducted an Ashwamedh Yagya and established Keshav Dev in Mathura, Govind Devji in Vrindavan, Haridev on Govardhan, Gokuleshwara in Gokul, and Swarupa of Baldevji at places located at 1 yojan from Gokul. This legendary rediscovery of Braj region by Vajranabh was then followed by a period of complete disappearance of Leela Sthalas, as pointed by some scholars, as they were lost to time. But that's not the complete picture, because when we see, we can find that even in the early medieval period, there are references where we get to know that Mathura was throughout the pilgrimage center, and one such scholar, one such work of reference we can see Al-Biruni. So Al-Biruni notes it being crowded pilgrimage center visited by many devotees. He says that, I am quoting him, Mahura is a holy place crowded with Brahmins. it is venerated because Vasudeva was born here and brought up in a place in the neighborhood called Nandagola. So even when Al-Bruni is writing in the early medieval period, Mathura is still a center of pilgrimage. So this idea that certainly what we see today as pilgrimage, it developed in the 16th century, but to say to refute the idea that there was no pilgrimage to Braj region before medieval period is also not true. Even in the early medieval period, we get a plethora of references that pilgrimage was taking to the Braj region, and it might not have been defined in a particular way, but certainly Mathura and the areas in the vicinity of Mathura were being travelled by pilgrims at large. So Tavernier, writing in the medieval period, Bernier, all these travellers to Braj, they also discuss about how pilgrims are coming from throughout the subcontinent to visit this region. Talking about pilgrims, if we define, there are people who are coming from particular professions to Braj region. So when we talk about pilgrimage, I would like to put forth the idea of pilgrimage economy. When in the 16th century these sects are coming to Braj, they are bringing more and more areas to the settlement, and in bringing these areas to the settlement, they also needed patronage. When they needed this patronage, political and mercantile communities, they are supporting them in this development of this region of Braj, and we see that the pilgrimages in this time then are not only for the spiritual quest, but also political and mercantile purposes. So we see a lot of political pilgrims coming to Braj region who had their own motives to visit beyond the religious quest to visit the region, and also the mercantile followers of many sects. Some of the texts where we can see the idea of pilgrimage emerging, as I discussed, Vraj Bhakti, Vilasam of Narayan Bhatt, Rupa Goswami's Mathura Mahatmya and Varaha Purana's Mathura Mahatmya relate the merits of visiting the pilgrimage spots and ponds of Braj. They bring out Gaudiya's charting of pilgrimage circuit and mapping sacred mandalas drawing upon earlier scriptures. So they quote Puranas extensively in this. Then we also have some accounts, we also have some pilgrimage accounts by the devotees. So one such very important work I would like to quote is Bikaneri Yatri Vivran. This Bikaneri Yatri Vivran is a very important work which discusses the personal account of a pilgrim who is visiting Braj region during Shah Jahan's period, and he is discussing how he visited all the temples, how he saw the Swarupas, and even give minute details of how much expenditure is being done in the temples. So this is a very important account, and we see that the pilgrimage is not only confined to the area of Braj. So when we talk about Braj, we have discussed about all this imagery of lotus, we discuss about mandalas, yoga Peetha, but there is also Transcendental Braj. So in that sense, you see there are pilgrims who do Mansi Parikrama. Mansi Parikrama, where the pilgrims do not need to visit Braj in geographical form, but in their mind they can think about Braj with a lot of bhav, and in doing so they are able to reach Braj mentally, if not physically. So Braj is not only a physical region, it is much beyond that. And when we talk about pilgrimage traditions, the tradition of Mansi Parikrama is very important. So here we see a map of Radha Kunda and Krishna Kunda, where you see this map and the lotuses around it are representative of Sakhis. And if someone looks at this map, some devotee looks at this map, sitting not in Braj Bhumi but somewhere outside, and they just think about that, they are with a lot of bhav, emotions, that they are doing a parikrama of this area, they reach Braj. So in that sense, this Mansi Parikrama makes the pilgrim reach Braj region without even visiting Braj region physically. Another very important example of this Mansi Parikrama is how Braj as a space is recreated outside of the physical boundaries of the region itself, is the idea of, we see Natasankirtan. So in Manipuri Vaishnavism, Natasankirtana is viewed as a form of divine dance, leading to an experience of Sri Vrindavan within the space where the dance is being performed, and thus the dance itself is viewed as a pilgrimage to Vrindavan. So likewise, you see, Vrindavan is recreated at that point of time when this Natasankirtana is being performed. In the performative traditions as well, there is a recreation of Vrindavan, of Braj, of many spaces outside of the physical or geographical Braj, what we say. So there is no one form of Braj. Braj can be seen from multiple points, multiple standpoints, and in multiple interpretations. In one such example, we see there are pilgrims, there are poets who are not, they are outside of Braj, and sitting somewhere outside, they are writing about Braj and thinking that they are experiencing Braj. So one such example, a very important example, is that of a Chandralal Goswami, an 18th century poet who is writing Vrindavan Prakash Mala, an 18th century text, which is based on one such Mansi Parikrama, that is a mental circumambulation done by the author Chandralal Goswami. When he was away, he was physically unable to be in Braj. So he is away from the physical region of, geographical region of Braj because of Abdali's attack on Braj region, and because of that he could not do the pilgrimage himself. So he wrote a text called Vrindavan Prakash Mala, where he is imagining that he is doing a circumambulation of the Vrindavan without even visiting the space geographically or physically in person. So, as a popular saying goes, Braj manifests itself in the heart and mind of the believer and travels with him, her, wherever he or she goes. So, if we interpret the meaning of the literal meaning of the word Vraj, it means gati. It means traveling. So, likewise, we see Braj, pilgrims are traveling to Braj, merchants are traveling to Braj, political classes are traveling to Braj, and devotees are traveling to Braj region. The sects who are there in the Braj region, they are also traveling outside of the Braj region for the pilgrimage purposes. So, it is not only that pilgrims are coming to Braj region, it is also the pilgrims are also, pilgrim and particular the sect, they are also going outside of the Braj region to perform pilgrimages to the other places. So, for instance, when we talk about Pushti Margiya sects, if we look at the Varta literature, if we look at the Pushti Margiya literature, we see that there are many discussions where we get to know that the Gosains were traveling to Gujarat, they were traveling to other places to meet their followers, they are traveling to spread their word, to disseminate their learnings. And so likewise you see even the Gaudiyas, they are traveling to Bengal. So this is very important, that how pilgrimages are happening in Braj, certainly, but the sects are also traveling outside of the Braj to perform pilgrimages. So we have to see both the dimensions, not only the pilgrims who are coming to Braj, but the people located in Braj who are going outside to perform the pilgrimages. The cartographic and lithographic representations of the region and visual pilgrimage through these present another way of experiencing the region without even physically visiting it. The sensory and visual journey of Braj results from emotions evoked by internalizing the experience offered by these maps and these cartographic representations and even the textual representations. The performative traditions, as I discussed about Natasankirtan, evoked emotional density among the performers and the devotees who are watching the act. Thus, performances based on Braj Bhava transport the performers and the viewers to experience Braj region mentally. Hence, emotions, the Bhav, the Braj Bhav, it brings a characteristic mobility to the idea of this region, and pilgrimage is all about mobility. The sacred geography of Braj region was mapped to cultivate the emotions of ecstasy and nostalgia in the mind of devotees, for them to connect with the same space once Krishna walked. Thus, we need to understand that this experience of the space is not, it outgrows the geographic foundations of that space itself. Sacred space is not bounded by only a particular geography, but it can outgrow it. So, this is a very important aspect of pilgrimages which must be taken into discussion. As discussed, apart from these Mansi pilgrimage and different kind of pilgrimages to Braj region, there are some pilgrimages which can be defined as political pilgrimages. So, these, if you see, Braj acquired a pan-Indian character through its association with various political powers. The region received political pilgrims, and how we define political pilgrims, because these pilgrimages are done not only for spiritual quest but also for political, these had political implications. So, we see that Rajputs from Rajasthan, Rajput rulers from Bundelkhand, particularly Orchha, they are all visiting Braj region during medieval period, and they undertook pilgrimage to this area, which were also occasions for commencement of many political projects in this region. According to sectarian literature and legends associated with Braj region, all these political classes patronized and travelled to the region. Raja Mansi Kachwaha and a noble at Akbar's court endowed the reconstruction of Gobind temple in 1590. Through a parwana, that is an order, he ordered the clerks that one asharfi or a gold coin should be given per day as a bhog to the deity. And we see that all other Rajput rulers like Bir Singh Deo Orchha during Jahangir's period patronized Braj region, and he endowed the most prominent temple, Keshav Deva temple in Mathura at Krishna Janamsthan. At Vrindavan, he constructed numerous ghats, temples and gardens, and in 1614 he visited Mathura, where on Vishram Ghat he offered gold equal to his weight and did a charity by the way of Tuladana. Almost somewhere we see that even a Rana of Udaipur, he also donated gold equal of his weight at the same ghat. So, we see that all these political rulers, when they are travelling to Braj, they are trying to make a political impact by introducing, by practicing such practices like the practice of Tuladana, as we discussed, by endowing the region, by giving patronage to big temple building activities they are undertaking. And we get to know that they are also celebrating Holi, they are also celebrating different kind of festivities by visiting Braj region. So, we get to know, and these had political reasons behind them. Very important incidents of the same is poet Murari Das, who narrates how Mansingh, Raja Mansingh Kachwaha has vowed on the eve of his departure on a Mughal military campaign against the kingdom of Mewar that he would rebuild and re-establish the temple of Gobind Devji, who is worshipped by gods at Vrindavan. So, the incarnation of Krishna may be celebrated by the people. Nearly 40 years later, in the premises of the same temple, a Chhatri was endowed during the reign of Shah Jahan to honor Bhim Rao, a prince of Mewar. So, we see that, and this was also done Raja Bhim Singh. This was also done as a form of pilgrimage. So this is important, that how devotional journey to Braj region were very pragmatic, and sometimes they had a large political implications, and we must also look into these form of journeys. Another important form, we see how merchant followers are visiting Braj region. So when the merchants are visiting Braj region, they are doing a lot of patronage to the region. So we see many temples of Braj region, like Srinathji at Govardhan, the Pushti Margi temple, Madan Mohan Ji's temple, Gaudiya temple at Dwadashaditya Tila, Radha Vallabhi temples like Shriji's temple at Vrindavan. All these temples were endowed by merchants, and these merchants, as we get to know from various sources of various literature coming from different sects, like for instance Rasik Ananyamal, a 17th century hagiography of Radha Vallabh sect, we get to know that Jain, Khatri, Kayasth, all Patel, all these traders used to visit Braj region during this period of time for business purposes, certainly. So we get to know that how Braj region was frequented by different kinds of merchants, not only Indian merchants but also foreign merchants who are coming to this area for business and also for pilgrimage. So these two were combined here, and I would like to argue that these merchants are traveling with the pilgrim groups because there were certainly security issues as well, and when they are traveling with the pilgrim groups, they are also traveling as pilgrims, and but also they are also coming to Braj to do business. So this is very important, that how there is another form of pilgrimage which is being taken to Braj region. The capital of merchants, directly or indirectly, made their way to Braj region from all over the subcontinent. And a very important and interesting example we find in Varta literature, where we see a merchant named Jamna Das, who is coming from South India. He gifted a diamond necklace worth 5 lakh rupees to Sri Gosainji of Pushti Marg in those times. And we also find that another Khatri diamond merchant, he is also coming to Braj region on a pilgrimage, and when he is coming on pilgrimage, is bringing a necklace, a diamond necklace for the god. So this is very important, that how these merchants are traveling to Braj region on pilgrimage, but they are bringing gifts to the deity, they are bringing capital to the region. So they are helping in bringing the pilgrimage economy, they are contributing to the pilgrimage economy of Braj region. And while doing so, we get to know that they are patronizing the region, they are also contributing in the business activities, and also they are associated with these sects. So we get to know about not only merchants, we also get to know about the class of brokers who are visiting Braj region, and they are associated with the particular sects. And when these brokers are associated, and this is a very important and interesting information, that most of these brokers have their Vaishnava names, and when they are traveling to the region, they are also dealing with these sects. So we get to know that there was a Mandavi in Gokul, and this Mandavi, even the Goswamis were participating in the commerce of Braj. So this is the commercial part of how the pilgrimage economy developed. We also must understand this. And how these merchants are contributing to the economy of Braj. Another form how they are contributing is by sending hundis or bills of exchange. So they are sending hundis or bills of exchange in the name of God, and making big large endowments to the temples, to the sects, to the building activities of ghats in Braj region, and these points should also be taken into consideration. Pilgrimage made Braj as a major hub for investment of capitals, and the community support that these merchants received in return was indispensable, and Braj religiosity thus became a medium for bridging gap between the binaries of ascetic world, spiritual world and the Bhugolic world, which is very important. So, as we see that merchants are they are leaving all their worldly desires in a way by visiting Braj region. They are contributing to the dharma, but also in return they are also kind of legitimizing their own accumulation of wealth. And as Braj came to be associated with all these patronage networks as well, so we see that political and mercantile networks, they are also channelizing their way to Braj through these pilgrimage networks, and that is one important factor which contributed immensely to the development of the region. Braj is thus not only a physical region or a geographical locale, but is an emotion, a bhav, that is central to the replication and recreation of Braj as a prototype for emergence of new pilgrimage centers throughout the subcontinents and even beyond. So, we see when in the 17th, later half of the 17th century and early 18th century, when exodus of the deities is happening from the region during Aurangzeb's period, we see that when these deities are being taken by the sect to different parts of the subcontinent, like in Rajasthan, in Gujarat, in Panna, Bundelkhand, we see a re-emergence and recreation of space at these places as well. So, Braj is also travelling outside of the physical boundaries when we see that recreation of space is happening at Nathdwara, where Braj is being replicated, at Bishnupur in Bengal, at Kanak Vrindavan in Jaipur. So, Braj is being recreated outside of the physical boundaries, and these new pilgrimage centers are emerging throughout the subcontinent and even beyond it. And when these pilgrimage centers are being created, pilgrims are visiting them, but also and trying to experience Braj outside of the physicality and of Braj region. And but that does not mean that the pilgrimage traffic is it reducing to Braj region. Braj region is still, it remains even after the exodus of the deities, which I am trying to argue. And you see that Braj, as experienced by the contemporary pilgrims and journal visitors, is thus a result of the transformations the region has been through only less than 500 years ago, and we need to understand this process of evolution to understand Braj region and also the pilgrimage traditions which are associated with the region. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.